I'm extremely honored to be here this afternoon at your annual conference. People tell me that yours is one of the most well-organized conferences in the south of India, and I've looked forward to being here today. Across the next 15 minutes, I'll try to tell you 2 or 3 stories from my life, and I do hope that maybe you will be able to take away home one life lesson which you could perhaps be able to implement from Monday in your workplace. My name is Pattabhi, and I grew up in the eastern part of India in an industrial township that belonged to the Tatars. Located in Odisha, some 350 kilometers away from the capital city of Bhubaneswar, this place was as cosmopolitan a place as cosmopolitan can ever get to be. We spoke Tamil at home. My mother was very, very particular that there would be no Anglicization nor any adding of Hindi words in our Tamil conversation. So much so that we spoke as well or we spoke as good as our cousins down south did. My neighbor spoke Bengali. His neighbor spoke Odia. A few houses away, there were people who spoke Marathi. There were people who spoke Gujarati. There was a family that came from the Jammu and Kashmir, spoke Kashmiri at home. Few blocks away, there were people who spoke Telugu, who spoke Malayalam, who spoke Kannada. Why, there were some who even spoke Bhojpuri. We never ever got to worry about who spoke what at home, because we all learned right from day one that the private life of a private individual is his private business. And more importantly, it was din to us, whether said or unsaid, that what matters is not where you come from, what matters is where you go to. I don't think any of us ever bothered whether Zafar Iqbal, 4 years my senior and an outstanding cricketer, whether he was a 5-time namaz reading Mussalman. None of us ever cared whether Angelina Das, who was my classmate, whether she went to the mass every Sunday morning, and I don't think anybody cared whether I, part of the majority Hindu community, went to the Shiv Mandir every Friday evening. That was because we all learned very early in life that what matters is not where you come from, what matters is where you go to. My youngest brother's best friend was the son of a construction site chowkidar. They went to the same school, they sat in the same class, they played together, they studied together, and why there were occasions when this guy would drop in home for dinner because he loved to have the masala dosa. I'm sure inside the factory, there was a very clearly defined office hierarchy. But outside in the industrial township, there was absolutely no hierarchy, because we were all told, we were all taught that what matters is not where you come from, what matters is where you go to. And today I'm extremely proud to tell you that people who grew along with me, people who went to school with me, people who went to college with me, quite a few of them have gone on to hold high offices in governance, in corporates, cutting across countries and continents. Why I tell you this is that in our workplace, in the accounting firms where we work, I think this should also become an ingrained practice. I told you what happened during the growing up years, but then it all changed, and I will therefore come down to episode number 2. For my graduation, I went to one of the best educational institutions of our times, the Jesuit institution, the St. Joseph's College in Tiruchi. 10 days into the class, Father Tagore said that all of you guys have to make a choice between one of two subjects. You will either read the Bible or you would read ethics. And he made it clear that under the rules of the college, all Catholics shall read Bible. The rest of them, the Protestants, the Hindus, people coming from other communities could actually make a choice. For me, that was a revelation. Because for the first time in my life, I was actually hearing that choices need to be made on the basis of an accident of birth. But let that pass. As the roll call was being taken, and as different people announced what they want to do, he read out my name, and I got up and said, I want to study the Bible. I was very clear in my mind that since from class 1 to class 10, I had studied moral science in school, and I believed that ethics was all about moral science. This would be an opportunity for me to read some other subject. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you have ever heard a pin drop, it was that evening at 3:30 p.m. in room number 22 in the first floor of St. Joseph's College. My friend who was seated left to me, William George, turned around and said, "What the hell?" And Professor Tagore thought he had not heard me right enough and said, "What did you say?" And I told him, "Father, I want to read the B, the I, the B, the L, the E. That's the Bible for me." No, I don't know whether you will believe that that was a time when I was so very young. While my classmates appreciated me, respected me, admired me for the academic background with which I came, but then for the next few days, I thought I could have been completely wrong, but I thought that I was getting ostracized. 4 days later, I walked into Father Tagore's classroom, and I must tell to my everlasting shame, that Father Tagore was not teaching Bible, Father Tagore was teaching ethics. In short, it was perhaps the first time when faced with peer pressure, I decided that I will fall to peer pressure. 4 days later, the head of the English department, Professor Bhanumurthy, sent a note to me. And I thought maybe he wants to discuss with me something about writing, because in his class, on the second day of our joining, he had wanted all of us in the classroom to write the executive summary of any novel that one had read, and I had written the executive summary of The Godfather, and he liked it so very much. So I thought he was going to talk to me about that. He then asked me, when I met him that evening at 4:30 in the English department, he asked me, what happened at Father Tagore's class? I guess by that time, the event had caught fire, and so I explained to Professor Bhanumurthy as to what exactly had happened. He sat me down and then told me, "I'm extremely disappointed with what you finally did." He told me that in a classroom or in a room of 100 people, if 99 people have one view and the 100th person has a different view, it means that the 99 people have a majority view. It does not necessarily mean that they have the right view. I'll repeat what Professor Bhanumurthy said. I still remember that so many summers away. He said that in a room of 100 people, if 99 people have one view and 1% has a different view, it does not mean that the 99 people have the right view. It merely means that they have the majority view. I would think that in our workplace, in the places that you run, this is a matter that you must seriously consider, because there would be people in your offices who would have a completely different standpoint, and I think it is very, very important for all of us to respect that particular view. So I told you about what I thought was lesson number 1. I told you about it's very important not as to where you come from. What's far more important is where you go to. I then told you that in a room of 100 people, if 99 people have one view, That's not necessarily the right view, that's merely the majority view. I'll go to my third and last episode. This was something that happened very recently. Recently would mean in the context of the two tales that I've told you. In that context, this is recent. And I think personally, to me, it had a far more impactful hit on me. I still remember the date. It happened on the 24th of December, 2010. This is a story that I've told across the length and breadth of the country, wherever I have an opportunity to say, and therefore I will tell you the story as well. I was in Landmark, the Chennai-based bookstore, which no longer exists. That evening at Landmark, the computer system had failed, and therefore invoices were being made manually. In front of me was a young boy who in his two hands was carrying a number of books. So I helped him place the books on the table, and then the counter clerk, or the counter officer as I would like to call him, prepared the invoice. He prepared the invoice and gave it to the boy. The boy took one look at the invoice and said, "Uncle, you have billed me for 10 books. I have, however, bought 11. The 11th book is 5 find-outers. You have not billed that." This boy had taken just 1 second or 2 seconds to figure out that there were 11 books and only 10 had been billed. The counter officer took the book, took the bill, checked like what a typical auditor would do. He ticked each one of them and then found that yes, there was a book extra. And then he told the boy, "Yes, you are right." And then he added that and gave it to the boy. And he made the bill. The boy took one look at the bill and said, "Uncle, the total for this invoice is 730. It is not 570 as you have put it out there." Now my heart actually stopped. I thought, what is this that is happening in front of me? And then the counter guy took that invoice. He took a calculator, added it multiple times, and then said, "Yes, you are right." And in front of my disbelieving eyes, this boy took a 1,000 rupee note and gave to the clerk. The man returned 370 rupees to him. And the boy said, "Uncle, you gave me 370. You need to return only 270 to me." And watching that, I thought, look, this is outstanding. This is remarkable. But the most important part of the story comes just now. The counter officer said, the clerk there said, "Young boy, you have done something wonderful. Take, here is the 12th book. You can buy this for free. You can take this for free." And the boy said, "Uncle, but what is it that I have done that I deserve this 12th book?" Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I think when we are very young, when we are in that impressionable age, that boy was, I think, 10 years old. I later spoke to him. He told me that his mother was a doctor and his father was a lawyer. I guess 8 years later, this guy must definitely be getting into chartered accountancy, given the speed with which he worked on it. And as we grow up, unfortunately, once we decide to do any of the professional courses, I think we get to read law, we get to read CA, then we begin to tell ourselves that, look, can we bend the law without breaking it? So to summarize, there are 3 lessons I thought that I can offer you. Lesson number 1 is that most often our heart tells us what is right, what is wrong. And I think it's very, very important that as star professionals, you must listen to your heart as much as you must listen to your head. Second important thing is that we should not discount the minority view. We should look at the view of every single individual who is in our workplace. And the third and last one is that it really does not matter where we come from. What matters is where we go to. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity.